Hey guys, welcome back. I hope you are having an amazing day. Let's get right into the stories. The first one is a pro-revenge story. When I first moved into the small house, I thought I had found a great bargain. It was a little dirty and poorly maintained, but the landlord promised everything would work. I negotiated the security deposit down to $300 and signed the contract, thinking I had struck a deal with a fair and reasonable person. However, it didn't take long for things to go wrong. The first issue was the power, which was off when I came to see the property. Despite my concerns, the landlord assured me that everything would work fine and even put it in the contract. It was a red flag, but I was desperate for a place to live, so I went ahead and signed the agreement. As soon as I moved in, I discovered that the heat air didn't work, the refrigerator and dishwasher were broken, and the crawl space was flooded with cockroaches and mosquitoes. I asked the landlord to have someone look at the problems, but he cursed me up and down, insisting that everything was fine and accusing me of causing the flood myself. Things only got worse from there. The landlord showed up unannounced and let himself in even when I wasn't home. On one visit, I found him snooping around in my bedroom. It was a blatant violation of my privacy, but when I confronted him, he laughed it off and said he was just checking for leaks. The situation became intolerable, especially since I had a newborn baby to care for. I called his bluff and agreed to find a new place to live. We left the home in much better shape than we found it, but the landlord refused to return our security deposit. He dodged our phone calls and refused to answer our emails, leaving us feeling helpless and frustrated. It was then that I decided to take matters into my own hands. I started leaving negative reviews for his business online and stumbled upon his lapsed website domain. I quickly bought it and created a homepage with contact info for his biggest competitor. I then offered to sell the website to him for $320, the amount of the security deposit plus the cost of the domain. The landlord was furious and started harassing me, even threatening to sue me and my family. But I had recorded his threatening phone calls and saved his texts and voicemails, so I knew I had evidence to protect myself. Despite his threats, I continued to hold on to the website domain, renewing it for another 2 years. And then, a few months later, I received a text from the landlord saying he went out of business. I knew I had won, but my victory was short-lived. A few weeks after that, I received a notice in the mail that I was being sued by the landlord for illegally recording his phone calls. I was shocked and scared, not knowing what to do. I consulted with a lawyer who told me that I had a strong case, but that it would be a long and expensive legal battle. I decided to fight back, knowing that I had done nothing wrong. It was a difficult and stressful time, but I was determined to see it through. After months of legal wrangling and court appearances, I finally won the case. The judge ruled that I had acted within my legal rights and dismissed the charges against me, but the story doesn't end there. A few months later, I received a phone call from the landlord himself. He sounded defeated and desperate, asking me to do the right thing and give him back the website domain. I refused, telling him that the price had gone up to $380. Months went by and I never heard from the landlord again. But one day, I received an email from the major business listing sites informing me that the landlord's business had officially closed down. I smiled to myself, knowing that I had taken down the slumlord and made him pay for his mistreatment of tenants. But there was one final twist in the story. A few weeks after the landlord's business closed, I received a call from a woman who said she was interested in renting the same house. She had found my contact information online and wanted to know more about the property. I was hesitant at first, not wanting to expose anyone else to the same terrible landlord. But then I decided to tell her the truth about my experience. I told her about the broken appliances, the flooded crawl space, and the invasion of privacy. I warned her that the landlord was untrustworthy and that she should proceed with caution. To my surprise, the woman thanked me for my honesty and told me that she had also had a bad experience with the same landlord. She said that she had rented from him a few years ago and that he had refused to return her security deposit as well. She was shocked to hear that I had managed to take down his business and applauded me for standing up to him. We continued to talk, and I learned that the woman was a lawyer who specialized in landlord-tenant disputes. She offered to help me get my security deposit back and to take legal action against the landlord if necessary. I was grateful for her offer and decided to take her up on it. With the help of the lawyer, we filed a lawsuit against the landlord to recover our security deposit. It was a difficult and lengthy process, but eventually, we won the case. The judge ruled that the landlord had breached the contract by not maintaining the property and ordered him to pay us the full amount of the security deposit plus interest. It was a sweet victory, one that I never thought I would achieve. I had taken down the slumlord and made him pay for his mistreatment of tenants, and in the process, I had also found a new friend and ally. I was grateful for the lawyer's help and support, and I knew that I would never have to deal with the landlord again. The next one is an entitled People story. When my family and I moved into our new home, we were excited to start a new chapter in our lives. However, our excitement was short-lived when we began experiencing problems with our neighbors. They would frequently trespass on our property and disturb our peace, making it difficult for us to feel comfortable in our own home. It all started when we noticed that our neighbors' kids would often come onto our property to play. While we did not mind them playing outside, we were concerned that they would damage our property or get hurt while playing unsupervised. We kindly asked our neighbors to supervise their children while they played outside, but they did not seem to take our concerns seriously. Things took a turn for the worse when our neighbors began hosting loud parties and events that would disturb our peace late into the night. We tried to tolerate the noise at first, but it became increasingly difficult to sleep or relax in our own home. We kindly asked them to keep the noise down or move the party indoors, but they ignored our requests. We knew we had to take action when our neighbors' parties began causing property damage. One night we woke up to find that one of our windows had been shattered by a stray object from their party. We were frustrated and fed up with their behavior, so we decided to take legal action. We hired a lawyer and sent our neighbors a letter warning them to stay away from our property and respect our boundaries. However, they did not seem to take our letter seriously and continued to trespass and disturb our peace. Determined to get justice, we took our case to court. It was a long and expensive legal battle, but we were determined to get the respect and peace we deserved in our own home. The case went to trial, and we presented the evidence we had collected. We had footage from our security cameras which showed our neighbors trespassing on our property and causing disturbances. It was a clear violation of our privacy and peace, and we hoped that the judge would see it that way. Thankfully, the judge ruled in our favor and ordered our neighbors to stay away from our property and respect our boundaries. They were also ordered to pay for the damages they had caused and to stop hosting loud parties and events that would disturb our peace. We felt relieved that justice was finally served, but the experience had taken a toll on us. We had lost sleep, time, and money trying to protect our boundaries and peace. Dramatic ending. However, our relief was short-lived. Our neighbors retaliated against us by vandalizing our property and spreading false rumors about us to other neighbors in the community. We were devastated that they would go to such lengths and felt unsafe in our own home. We contacted the police, but they were unable to do much to help. We felt hopeless and isolated in our community, and we knew we had to take matters into our own hands. We decided to take extra security measures and installed even more cameras around our property. We also started a neighborhood watch group to connect with other community members and promote safety and security in our area. Thankfully, our efforts paid off, and our neighbors did not attempt to vandalize our property again. We felt safer and more connected to our community, and we hoped that our experience would serve as a cautionary tale for others. Update. Since the incident, we have become more involved in community outreach and have worked with local authorities to promote safety and security in our neighborhood. We have also started a campaign to raise awareness about the importance of respecting other people's boundaries and promoting a peaceful community. We have also made an effort to connect with our neighbors and establish better relationships with them. While we may never be close friends, we believe in being good neighbors and treating each other with respect. In addition, we have started to work on improving our own property to create a peaceful and enjoyable space for ourselves and our family. We have invested in a variety of home improvements, such as soundproof windows, a privacy fence, and landscaping to create a more tranquil atmosphere. Through our experiences, we have learned the importance of setting boundaries and standing up for our rights as homeowners. We have also learned that community involvement and communication are key to resolving disputes and creating a safer and more peaceful neighborhood. In the end, while our battle for boundaries and respect was difficult and costly, it has led us to become more involved in our community and to take pride in our home. We hope that our story will encourage others to stand up for their rights and to promote a peaceful and respectful community for all. The next one is a petty revenge story. My late husband had been a successful remodeler with a wide range of clients. Despite his terminal illness, he had continued to work on projects until his last days. During that time, he had occasionally hired my good friend Ami's daughter Kiki as a helper on some of his larger projects, but over time, Kiki's behavior had caused a rift between her and my husband. She had borrowed several tools and returned them broken or missing parts, and he had caught her stealing from one of his clients. My husband had gifted some of his belongings to our friends before he passed away, but he had never mentioned anything about an inheritance for Kiki. So when she approached me, demanding her promised inheritance, I was taken aback. Our state was a community property state, meaning that in the absence of a will, the surviving spouse is entitled to inherit. However, Kiki believed that she was entitled to something from my husband's estate. To make matters worse, Kiki had a history of entitlement and stealing. She had stolen from her own mother, Ami, as well as from my husband. This only reinforced my belief that she was not entitled to anything from his estate. Despite all of this, I wanted to find a way to handle the situation amicably. I decided to gather all the broken tools that Kiki had borrowed and never returned in good condition, and to drop them off at her apartment with Amy's help. When Kiki asked me what she was supposed to do with the broken tools, I told her that she should do whatever she had expected my husband to do with them after she had returned them in such terrible condition. It was my way of sending a message that her entitled behavior had cost her any potential inheritance. But things didn't end there. A few weeks later, I received a call from the police. They had found Kiki's apartment ransacked and discovered that several valuable items had been stolen, including a laptop and some jewelry. Kiki had been arrested and charged with burglary. I was shocked by the news, but not entirely surprised. It was clear that Kiki's behavior had been escalating and she needed help to overcome her issues. I hoped that this incident would be a wake-up call for her to seek the help she needed. As for me, I was relieved that I had been able to put an end to Kiki's unreasonable demands, and that justice had been served for the victims of her theft. It was a stark reminder that entitlement and stealing never pay off in the end. But then, another dramatic ending occurred. A few months later, I received a letter in the mail from a lawyer informing me that my late husband had left behind a will after all. In it, he had stated that he wanted to leave a portion of his estate to Kiki, but only if she could prove that she had overcome her issues with entitlement and stealing, and had sought help to become a better person. I was surprised by this turn of events. It seemed that my late husband had seen something in Kiki that I had not. I wondered if this could be the wake-up call she needed to turn her life around. I decided to reach out to Kiki and offer her my support in seeking the help she needed to become a better person. It wasn't the inheritance I'd expected, but it was a chance to make a positive difference in someone's life. I knew that Kiki had a long road ahead of her, but I was determined to help her in any way I could. I reached out to Amy, and together we came up with a plan to support Kiki in her journey towards self-improvement. We encouraged her to seek therapy to address her issues with entitlement and stealing, and we helped her find a job to support herself while she worked towards becoming a better person. It was a slow and difficult process, but Kiki was committed to making a change. Over time, I began to see a transformation in Kiki. She became more self-aware and introspective, and she started taking responsibility for her past mistakes. She even reached out to my husband's former clients to apologize for her past behavior and offer to make things right. I was amazed by Kiki's progress and felt proud to have played a small part in her journey. When the time came for the lawyer to review Kiki's progress and determine if she was eligible for the inheritance, I was hopeful that she would be successful. Finally, the day arrived for the lawyer's review. Kiki presented a detailed plan of how she intended to continue her self-improvement journey and outlined the steps she had taken so far to make amends for her past mistakes. To my relief and joy, the lawyer announced that Kiki had met the requirements for the inheritance. My late husband had seen something in her that I had not, and I was grateful for the opportunity to witness her growth and transformation. With her newfound resources, Kiki continued to seek therapy and make amends for her past mistakes. She even started her own remodeling business, focusing on ethical and sustainable practices. Years later, I received an update from Kiki, informing me that she had made a successful career in the remodeling industry and had become a respected member of her community. She thanked me for believing in her and for helping her on her journey towards self-improvement. I was filled with pride and joy to see the positive impact that Kiki had made on her own life and the lives of those around her. It was a reminder that even in the face of difficult challenges and past mistakes, there is always a chance for growth and transformation. The last one is an entitled parent's story. From the moment I got engaged to my fiancé, my mother has been hinting that she wants a grandchild. At first, it was just little comments about how cute babies are, but as time passed, she became more and more vocal about it. I never thought much of it until I made an Amazon list for our new house, which included a baby bottle dryer that was much cheaper than other options. This purchase sparked confusion from distant family members who thought that my fiancé and I were expecting a child. I quickly cleared up the misunderstanding, but it didn't stop my mother from bringing up the topic of grandchildren every time we spoke. As someone who had a difficult childhood due to my mother's neglect, I was not eager to start a family of my own. My fiancé and I were content with our lives as they were, enjoying our careers and traveling whenever possible. But my mother's desire for a grandchild continued to grow, and it started to put a strain on our relationship. One day, my mother announced to the family that if my fiancé and I were to have a child, it would be hers. I was shocked by her audacity and the fact that she had never discussed this with me before. I didn't know how to respond and simply let the conversation move on. However, as time passed, my mother's comments about grandchildren became more and more frequent, and I started to feel like I was being pressured into motherhood. I love my mother, but her constant hounding made me want to distance myself from her. Months went by, and my mother's desire for a grandchild only grew stronger. She started to drop hints about surrogacy and adoption, saying that if I wasn't going to have a child, she would find another way to become a grandmother. Her behavior was becoming more and more erratic, and it was affecting my mental health. One day, my fiancé and I decided to confront my mother about her behavior. We sat her down and had an honest conversation about how her constant pressure was affecting us. My mother became emotional, saying that she only wanted to have a grandchild to make up for the mistakes she had made as a mother. I sympathized with her, but I made it clear that I was not ready to start a family just to make her happy. It was a difficult conversation, but we eventually came to an understanding, and my mother agreed to back off. For a while, things were good between us, but then my mother's behavior took a turn for the worse. She became obsessed with the idea of having a grandchild and started to take drastic measures to make it happen. One day, I received a call from my mother saying that she had bought a pregnancy test for me. I was taken aback by her intrusion into my personal life, and I told her that I was not pregnant nor planning on it anytime soon. She was disappointed, but I thought that was the end of it. However, a few weeks later, my mother showed up at my door with a positive pregnancy test in her hand. I was in shock, wondering how this was possible since I had not been intimate with my fiancé for weeks. As it turned out, my mother had used my toothbrush to collect DNA and had used it to fake a pregnancy test. I was horrified and felt violated by her actions. My mother's desire for a grandchild had crossed a line, and I knew that I had to distance myself from her for my own well-being. Update. Since that incident, I have not spoken to my mother. It has been a difficult decision, but I know that I cannot have a relationship with someone who is willing to go to such extremes to get what she wants. It was a difficult time for me and my fiancé, but we leaned on each other for support. As time passed, I realized that I needed to focus on my own life and my own goals. I started to pour my energy into my career and my hobbies, and I found that I was happier and more fulfilled than ever before. However, my mother's behavior did not improve. She continued to reach out to me, sending me letters and messages, and trying to make amends. I was torn between wanting to forgive her and wanting to protect myself from her manipulations. Finally, one day I received a letter from my mother that changed everything. In the letter, she apologized for her behavior and acknowledged that she had been wrong to pressure me into motherhood. She said that she had finally come to understand that being a good mother was not about having a grandchild, but about being there for her children no matter what. The letter was a turning point for me, and I decided to give my mother another chance. We met up and had a heart-to-heart conversation, and I could tell that she was sincere in her apologies. It was not easy, but we slowly started to rebuild our relationship. Years have passed since that difficult time, and my relationship with my mother has improved significantly. I still have my reservations, but I've come to realize that forgiveness and healing are possible. My fiancé and I have decided to start a family, but we are doing it on our own terms and not because of any outside pressure. Looking back on everything, I realize that motherhood is a personal choice, and no one should feel pressured into it. It's important to live your life on your own terms and not let others dictate what you should or should not do. And sometimes forgiveness and second chances can lead to unexpected healing and growth. Thank you for watching. I would really appreciate it if you could like the video and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. We'll see you again tomorrow.